Welcome to W.A.R.N World News. I'm Dan.
And I'm Mary. Our top story, War on God's Church.
Since the days of the Roman Colosseum, almost every country has a record of Catholic martyrs. In some cases, countries are marked by the suppression of the Catholic faith, while in others, the persecutions were so violent that very few Catholics survived the persecution.
In the 16th century, Germany was the main battleground of the Protestant Reformation, and the 30 Years' War was considered the worst disaster since the Black Plague. It was one of the saddest conflicts in European history, with destruction of entire regions resulting in famine and disease.
During that time, England was one of the most Catholic countries of Europe, but Catholicism was almost reduced to ashes when its king, Henry VIII, developed a passion for the sister of his mistress, no less. He decided he would marry the girl, but demanded the Pope annul the marriage to his first wife, Catherine of Aragon.
Unfortunately for Henry, marriage for a king or a pauper was the same. It was a sacrament which could not be dissolved. But even though the annulment was denied by Pope Clement VII, Henry mocked the church and married his mistress, Anne Boleyn, anyway. He then publicly declared himself the supreme head of a new Church of England.
Without delay, the brutal king ushered in an unprecedented reign of terror that lasted well beyond his lifetime. Every Catholic church, monastery, and convent were seized. The sacred vessels of gold were confiscated, ancient libraries were burned, priceless frescoes were painted over. Statues and sacred objects served as fuel for the fires.
Monks were tortured and executed, and many others who had the audacity to resist, like St. Thomas More, were beheaded, and their heads were placed on pikes. After almost 1,000 years, the Catholic faithful of England were violently forced to convert to the king's new religion.
Yet another example is that of Ireland. Irish people living the Catholic faith were persecuted mercilessly for more than 300 years, and thousands of people were put to death. After the Catholic Emancipation Act of 1829, the persecution simply took another form. Catholics were no longer slaughtered, but were offered bribes of food and money to abandon their religion.
The 18th century produced the French Revolution with a death warrant for Catholics. From its start in 1789, the French Revolution was the event that transformed social values and political systems in all of Europe, and eventually throughout the world.
This persecution began with a document issued by the French government, breaking ties with the Catholic Church and establishing a new national church system. The tragic pandemonium that resulted from this war is known as the Reign of Terror and was one of the most brutal and gruesome periods of all history.
Rewards were given to whoever would denounce a Catholic priest. When the priests or monks were caught, they were executed within 24 hours, unless they were willing to take the national oath and deny their faith.
Through the Middle Ages and Enlightenment period, secret societies in Europe spearheaded countless deceptive schemes to undermine papal authority and destroy the Catholic foundations upon which Europe was built. Anti-Catholic propaganda was circulated, attacking the character of priests and nuns, as well as slandering Catholic teachings. In later years, communism continued this devastation, attempting to destroy the church in various nations.
And so, the same story continues on and on throughout church history. Catholics have been attacked, tortured, and almost snuffed out all over the world. England, France, Germany, Ireland, Poland, Portugal, Spain, Italy, Lebanon, Russia, Mexico, Africa, Israel, Sudan, Brazil, Philippines, China, Cuba, Scotland, South America, Guatemala, Belize, Hungary, Czechoslovakia.
But we ask you, who is behind all this? Who are these destroyers? who has plotted against God from the beginning of time to set up the master plan to destroy the church of God? Indeed, it is Satan, and there is not one country on earth that has escaped his destructive touch.
From ancient Roman emperors to modern communist dictators, the war on the Catholic Church has continued from age to age. The soldiers change from generation to generation, but their leader is always the same.
Despite these various persecutions, we were promised by Jesus himself that his church has been built upon the rock of St. Peter, and that the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. In the end, he will triumph. Until then, we must remain faithful to his will and continue to fight to defend God and his holy church.
The greatest battles are yet to be fought, and you, fellow knights, are the soldiers. I'm Mary, signing off for W.A.R.N. World News.
And I'm Dan. You have been warned.